Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this YouTube tutorial, we'll be learning how to create an basic IRC chat. We'll be learning how to, for the clients, how to register as an user and use that for communication between the clients. So we'll be using three modules. We have socket, we have threading, and we have pickle. So for the first two video parts, I guess we'll be only using socket and threading. So let's start coding. So I'll import socket and also a thread. Now if a socket is an endpoint between a two-way communications between two program that's running on the network. Basically, let's say I have a program that's running in this desktop, in this PC, and you guys have a program running in your computer and we have to communicate. So we are going to use socket as our endpoints and we are going to get a connection between these two endpoints. And if you ask me what a threading is, it is basically a separate flow of execution. This means you will have a program that will run two things simultaneously, concurrently. So that's basically it for socket and threading. And if you want to explore more on this topic, just comment it out. I'll explain more on threading and multiprocessing. But as of now, we'll start our tutorial. So we'll create a port, and the port can have a number above 1024. So till 1024, almost all ports are reserved. 22 is for SSH, 80 is for web server. Basically, all those websites you're visiting has port 80 as default. And so we'll be using a number called 6450. That's a random number I choose right now. And we will be using our local host for server, but for client it will be different depending upon the use. If you are trying to communicate between two PCs sitting in your local network, the client can have a basically the client will have the server as the server's IP address. So here we'll say server, and for me my IP address is 192.168.1.5. this is my local IP address. And if you guys don't know yours, you just have to type ifconfig on your terminal, and around where's my bits? Okay, here it is. So we have inet as 192.168.1.5. so this is my local IP address. And in case you are not able to find it even then, and then there's another method that involves using socket. We'll just say socket dot get by hostname. We'll have get host by name. Inside we'll say socket dot get hostname. So I'll just comment this out and print it. So this will be our local IP address, and it can be either this one or it will be 127.0.0.0.1. Basically means local IP address. So I'll say Python 3. So I'll just save it. Server.py. Socket dot get hostname. Okay, this is a function, so we have to call it as a function. As you can see, it printed 127.0.0.1. so if you are using that also, it will work. There's no problem. But I like to use my official local IP address. It doesn't matter, both works. It will work fine. And now we will bind these two into a tuple. So I'll say ADTR is equal to a new tuple, and inside that we have our server, then we have our port. So first always comes our server. Basically it's always like 192.168.1.5.80. 80 is basically our website, or it's something like this: 192.168.1.5, and then our port number, so 6450. This is how we call a different PC using server. So this is how we are supposed to bind. It should be server first, then the port. Now let's start by creating our server. So server is equal to socket dot socket. Now inside this socket we have two parameters. One is what kind of data we are trying to send. So we are streaming data, so it will be stream. And second is our family. What kind of family we are using. We are not using our local IP address, so it will be inet. So first comes our family, socket dot af, and as you can see, Visual Studio already shows me what are my options. So we have inet. Inet 6 is for public, but since we are using local IP address, inet is enough. And what kind of data we are sending, it is stream. So again here it is sock stream. So we have created our server object. Now we'll bind our server object to our address. So server.bind ADTR. Now we'll start by creating our functions. We'll have two functions for our startup. For starting, we will just have two functions. One is the method to handle the clients. One is our main function. So for clients, I will say incoming clients. We have two arguments for our connection and the client's address. We'll make this a blank function for now, and then we'll have our main function. So I'll call this main. No arguments, no parameters over here. And then we'll have a server object to listen to the number of clients we want. So we just have to say server.listen, and inside this, whatever parameter it can contain a single parameter, and it will be the number of clients we want to listen. If we leave it blank, it will listen as many clients as possible. So if I give it 100, it will listen up to 100. About that, it will not accept it. So for now, we'll just leave it blank. There's no use for it. And we'll once the main function start, we'll say our server has started and it is listening on this local IP address. So server has started. We'll say server has started listening for clients on our server. Basically, it will say server started listening for clients on 192.168.1.5, and then basically what we are trying to do is, since this is a server, we want this server to listen forever. So it will be a while loop, and it will be true forever. The server should not stop. The clients can stop working, but the server should always run. That's the basic concept between a server client. If you are playing a game and the server is down, you won't be able to access it. It will create frustration. So server should always be working. So that's why we are saying while true. And we'll take our connection and address. Basically, we'll listen for incoming connections. So we'll accept any incoming connections. So server.accept. What this does is, basically once a client sends the data, the server will listen to who is sending data, who is trying to connect. So it will take the connection and the address. Now we will create our thread. So we'll say thread is equal to threading dot thread. This is how you create a thread, and inside this we'll create a target function, that is incoming clients. And if there are any arguments to pass, in this case yes, we'll just pass our arguments like this. ARGS, what are our arguments, that is our connection and then our address. So these are the two arguments that our thread will have, or our clients, incoming clients, or the function will have. And now we have to start our thread. So thread dot start. So once this is done, we'll print out saying the number of active connections that are there. So print number of clients that are connected. It will be, we'll count number of threads that are active. So threading dot active count. Then we'll minus it by 1 because it counts our main function too. So threading dot active count dot count minus 1 will count the number of threads that are active, and it will print it out. So that's it for the while loop. Now we'll close the server. In case our while loop stops because of an error or something, we have to always close the server. So basically server dot close, and this is basically the main function. We just when we run our program, we'll say server program has started, and then we'll call our main function. So let's just see if this works. So I'll say Python 3 server.py. So server program has started. Server has started listening for clients on 192, 168, or 1.5. So basically that works. So I'll just clear it out. Okay. Now we'll define our function to handle our clients. So we'll say print. We'll say new connection established for our client, and that will be the address of the client. So addr, and this is a string. So basically say if user connects, it will say new connection as established for this user, and then we'll say connected. We want this to be always connected, so connected is equal to true, and we will say while connected. So we give the option to disconnect from the server, and I'll just explain it in it's coming up how we are going to do that. So we want a message, and we should receive the number of bytes that we are going to receive first. For example, let's say our message has 40 bytes, and for now we are just receiving 20 bytes. Then there will be an error. So we want to know how many bytes we are going to receive first. So for that we'll just say message length connection dot receive, and we want the header. That is the number of bytes we are going to receive. So we will just define a header. For now we'll just define a header for 64 bytes, and here we'll say header, and then receive the message. So decode, we'll be sending as a byte, so we have to decode. Since we are encoding in a format, we have to decode using the same format. So we'll define a format just now in a minute. So this is how we decode. So we got the message length. Now we will see if there is a message length, that is if the user has sent a message, and if there is a message length, then we'll start by decoding our message. So we'll say message length, it will be an int, so message length, and I'll just define my format. Okay, so format we'll be using universal format, that is UTF-8, and this is our message length. And same thing, we'll just say connection, we'll just say message, what our message is. It is connection dot receive. Before it was headers, that is the number of bytes or the number of length we are expecting. Now we'll say, since we got the length, now we'll say now on this is the length we are expecting, so that is message length. Then dot decode format. So we have our message, then we'll just print the message, print message, and we will just since we have a message, we'll just we printed our message, but I'll say we just want to know who sent the message. So addr sent message. So we will print the message. Now what we are going to do is we will send a confirmation saying we got the message. So we'll send it to our client saying connection.send. This means our server will send the following message: message received. That's it. We have to encode it in our format since we are sending it. So that's it. That's basically our server.py, our basic server.py. Now what if, as I said, what if we want to stop connection? So we'll say if we receive a message saying hash disconnect, then we will disconnect. So we'll say connected is equal to true. So that's it. Once connected becomes true, the while loop will it's not true, it's false. Once connected becomes false, the while loop will stop. So we'll close the connection. So dot stop. So that's it. Not stop, it's close. Alright, so that's it. That's all in our server end. We have created our server. Now we will create our client.py. So if you guys are following along, and pause. So that's it. So let's just save it. Now we'll go to our client. Now client also has the same thing. We'll import socket, we'll import threading, then we will have a header 64, our port 6450, something like that. Then the server which we are sending the message to, so that would be 192.168.1.5. then our disconnect message. So disconnect MSG, and that would be hash disconnect. Copy this. Then our we will bind this. So basically our address addr, we have our server first, then our port, then the format, of course. The format looks, it's UTF-8, so UTF-8. So that's it. Now we'll create our functions. So we'll have two options. One is to send message, one is our main function. So def send message, and this will contain our message. So message, for now we'll pass it, we'll put the function as blank for now, and then we'll have our client function. So client main. So we'll say we'll connect it to our server. So we'll say connected is equal to true. We are creating a while loop. So inside a while loop, while connected, what we are going to do is we'll try entering a message, and if the message is disconnect or the message is disconnect, we'll say connected is equal to false, and we'll send the message of course, but we'll break from the while loop. So that's it. So let's start. This is a message is equal to we will ask for our user to input the message. So enter, or just call it message. So we will take the message from the user, and then we'll send it to our send message function. So send msg with message. So that's it. Basically we are sending a message. Now if we try to break, so if you want to break our function, so basically if you want to stop the client, we'll just have to type disconnect. So we'll say message equal to disconnect, then break from the while loop, or we can say connected is equal to full. Both will work. So I'll just, as a foolproof idea, we'll just put both. So once you break from our while loop, we want to send this to our server saying we have stopped inputting any more messages, we want to stop a client. So we'll just say send disconnect message. So that's basically it for our client function. So we'll just call our client main. Now we'll define our sent message. So our message, we'll encode it in we'll encode it using our UTF-8 format. So format. And now what you're going to do is we are going to find the length of the message. We'll send it to our function, to our server. The server will say the length. Then we will send our message. So first we have to find the length of the message. So we have to find send length. So we want all this to be always in 64 bytes. So our message, we want str, we want the length of the message. So msg length, message length would be length of message. So message length is equal to length of message. Now we are sending this length, so we have to encode it, and then we have to send it in bytes. So str message length dot encode in our format. Then we will find the byte of if the message length is take 10, we will minus it with 64, so it will be around 54. So basically we are saying we are adding the header to it. We are sending it to our server.py, which will say it will receive up to 10 message length. So we'll say we'll do send length again. So we'll say send length is equal to plus equal to b. We won't add the header to behind. Basically we have 10, so we have to add another 54 bytes to behind. So we decided to say B. We have to call our header, then minus it with our length of message, length, send length. So that's it. We are actually adding spaces to the behind. Okay, so what we are trying to do is we are first figuring out the length of the message, then we are converting it to string, we are encoding it in our UTF format. Then let's say there are 10 spaces, we are sending the message for 10 length, then there is another 54 length, 54 space free. So what we are going to do is add that 54 space. So we just want the first 10, then the rest would be space. That's what we are doing here. B means byte representation, this is space, and we are multiplying with the rest of the length. That is, if this 10 minus 64, we have 54 space left, so we are adding 54 space to our length, send length. Since we encoded it, this is in byte format, that's why we are using byte. Now we'll just say client. Alright, we have to create our client function also. I forgot that. So we'll say client is equal to socket, same thing as our server, socket, just copy paste it. So that's it. Then we just have to say client dot send length first, since we have to send the length, since it's expecting our length first, then our message. So client dot send message. Now if you remember server.py, we are saying received, we are sending back a message received. So we'll print it out. So we'll say print client dot receive from it's supposed to be header, but for now I'll type 2048 or 1024, it doesn't matter. Then decode and format. So we are printing this out. That's it. So that's it for our function. So basically we have created everything, but before we start, we'll send a message saying incoming. So send message. This, what we are trying to do is we are trying to say connection has been established, we are trying to connect. So basically we are saying connection incoming. So connection established. So I guess this should work. So I'll just open my another terminal. It's saying up is not responding. So I'll open my server. Let's see if our server is working. So Python 3 server.py by saying address already in use. Basically that's because I exited using Control Z. We are supposed to use Control C, Command C, whatever. So I'll just see who is using our port, which address is using a port. So we are 6450. So as you can see, Python is using the port, is listening to this port in this process ID. So we'll just kill it off. Kill 2557. Nope. So now nothing. So okay. So now our server has started to listen. And then we'll start our client. It's saying okay, it's not supposed to be bind, it's supposed to be connect. So we are supposed to connect to our ADDR. That's my mistake. We're not binding. So this clears out. Okay, so our connection has been established. Basically that means server has received the message. See message received, so we'll input some message. Let's say hi, Christo is my name. So you can see sent Christo is my name, and that's because we have added he sent this message. So basically our server client has been established. So in the next video what we'll be trying to do is to talk between client to client. So here in this video we are able to connect between two servers. Let's see if we can connect one more. See, as you can see, number of clients that are connected now is 1. So I'll try connecting one more. Python 3 client.py. As you can see, it has increased, and this has a total different ID. It is 59727, it is 59667. So the ID is different, and our number of clients also has been increased to 2. So we have 2 clients. Okay, so in the next video I'll show you how to customize this coloring and how to talk between 2 clients. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, click on the subscribe button, press the like button, and see you soon.